Good night, everyone, and welcome to another amazing topic. Tonight, we will be doing cheese making part 2. And let me just give a big thanks to Risha, who would have helped us out last week by hosting for us. And you know what? She's here again. So Risha is one of the people in our business mastermind class, right? So Risha will once again be our host for this evening. So let me hand right over to Risha.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Cohen. As Cohen said, my name is Risha, and it's certainly a pleasure to be with you all again this evening and to see so many participants. This session is one of many sessions, which is a collaborative effort between Homegrown Solutions and Tropical Agriculture Consultancy Services. And we are in part 2 of the cheese making. So certainly that means there was a part 1. So if you missed part 1, you have the opportunity to get a recording and certainly give us please indicate in the chat for a recording of cheese making number 1. And certainly those of us that were present in number 1 were really amazed by the information that Riyadh had given us, because it really opened our mind to the opportunities, the business opportunities for cheese making, for making cheese, as well as the byproducts from cheese. As Cohen mentioned, I'm one of the masterminds, and this is really an ongoing program to help entrepreneurs and future entrepreneurs to develop their business and to really seek and find ways to build businesses locally. For those who are new, certainly a special welcome to you. And please introduce yourselves and, of course, your interest in cheese making in the chat. And in the chat, if you have any questions during the session, please type your questions there. If you have, of course, any interest further on with sessions from Homegrown Solutions, certainly indicate in the chat, and Cohen would indicate how to contact him if you don't know. So I will pause there for now, and I will hand you over to Riyadh.
Hi, good night, everyone. Okay, so I shall jump straight into the presentation tonight. Okay, I shall share the screen now. Could everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right, so a special good night. I'm very proud to see that we have a lot of new participants tonight. Okay, so this is cheese making presentation for 1 hour, part 2. This is an amazing and awesome collaboration between Homegrown Solutions and Tropical Agriculture Consultancy Services. My name is Riyadh Mohammed, and I'm the lead presenter for tonight. Tonight for this 1 hour, we shall briefly discuss an introduction to cheese making, classifications of cheese, cheese making terms, the relationship between livestock production and cheese making, the process of cheese making, generally speaking. We want to just chat a bit on cheddar cheese, feta cheese, mozzarella cheese, and parmesan cheese. And we shall have a short question and answer and a discussion period soon after. Our vision at Tropical Agriculture Consultancy Services is to be the leading agribusiness development and consultancy company promoting sustainable agribusinesses and to improve the livelihoods of all communities. So tonight we shall speak on cheese making. Now, before we get into cheese making, I want you all to open your minds and understand that this cheese making is one of the ways that we could utilize a livestock and a livestock byproduct. All right, so tonight, generally, we'll be making cheese from using cattle, the buffalo, goat, and sheep. All right, so 4 major livestock species. So a brief introduction. What is cheese? Cheese is really when you heat milk and it separates into curds and then the liquid portion. So the curds on the top is generally called cheese, and the whey is the liquid part of that heated separation. So innovation really takes place in cheese making when we strain the curds, salt, season, mold into a particular shape, ripen, package, brand, and sell. So cheese ranges from a whitish creamy cheese, which can be soft, to hard yellow colored cheese, packed with essential nutrients. So I would like you all to understand now the components of cow's milk. Now we are using 4 different species tonight to make different types of cheese. However, let's understand the basics first. Understanding the components of cow's milk. For every 1 liter of cow's milk, there's 87.7% water, 4.9% lactose, 3.5% fat, also known as butterfat, 3.3% protein, and 0.7% minerals. All right, I want you all to focus on 2 components in this figure, the water content and the fat percentage. Here is a classification of cheese by the Food and Agriculture Organization in 2008. So what is soft cheese? Soft cheese is classified when you have more than 67% of moisture. Semi-soft cheese is classified when you have between 61 to 69% moisture. Semi-hard cheese is classified when you have 54 to 63% moisture. Hard cheese, you should have only 49 to 56% moisture. And extra hard cheese, you should have less than 51% moisture. Right, so there are 5 major classes of cheese as defined by the Food and Agriculture Organization. Going further into the classification of cheese, there are 2 main methods of cheese production. You could either have coagulation by acidification or coagulation by enzymes. What do I mean? Coagulation by acidification is usually to make fresh and soft cheese. It's where organic acids such as lemon or vinegar is used. And it's really natural acidification by lactic acid bacteria in the milk itself. You have another option by coagulation by enzymes, all right, which usually forms semi-hard to hard cheese. This is when you use rennet. What is rennet? Rennet is an enzyme extracted from the gut of young calves or other ruminants. Why make cheese? All right, so I think a lot of you are here tonight to understand why could we or why should we make cheese. So there's an excess of supply from local dairy farmers in terms of milk production. And we all know when you add value to a product, you could get so much more worth. All right, so milk is generally a low price commodity in Trinidad and Tobago. However, what we want to do is add value to that low price commodity. So for every 100 liters of dairy cattle milk, 13 liters of that is milk solids, and about 87 liters of that is whey liquid. Now there's one thing I would like you to take away from this entire presentation. It's the last line on the slide here. For every 100 kilograms or 100 liters of milk, it will give you 10 kilograms of cheese. So the ratio from milk to cheese is approximately 10 to 1. These are some cheese making terms that you all should familiarize yourselves with. Artisan, where food or drink maker using natural skills of craftsmanship. Now everyone here, when they make cheese or when they make any other byproduct, will be their own craftsman or craftswoman. Right? Pasteurization is a treatment with mild heat to eliminate pathogens. Thermization is sub-pasteurization by heat treatment. Ripening is cheese maturation for flavor. Curdling is the breaking up of an emulsion into parts. Butterfat is the fat percentage in milk, and if you all could remember, it's about 3.4% in cow's milk. Rennet is a complex set of enzymes produced by ruminant animals. What is whey? We heard the term before. Is a liquid portion after the first separation of curds, and a coagulation is a process where proteins and fats are separated from whey. So guess what the protein and fats are? That's generally cheese in the initial form. And whey consists of lactose and salts. I want you all to understand these terms in particular because this is a very sensitive topic, especially as we go into food science. So what is a vegetarian? Simply speaking, it's someone who does not eat flesh, for example, meat, muscle, or fish. What is a vegan? This category of person or persons do not eat any livestock or livestock products. All right, so that may range from meat, milk, eggs, honey, broth, rennet, gelatin, fat, leather, wool, beeswax, or silk. So it's a different category or a different level of being a vegetarian. What is lactose intolerant? It's really the inability to digest lactose. And guess where you all saw lactose was found? Look at the last line. Lactose is generally found in the whey portion. So anyone could make cheese. Cheese making is a very simple process. I want to stress on the importance of livestock production and nutrition and feeding as it relates to cheese making. Now, we all could have the same recipe to make a particular type of cheese. However, based on where we get that #1 milk source from, the end products will all be different. All right, so it's very important to understand how you get good quality milk made to start that cheese making process. So the species we have locally available in Trinidad and Tobago are cattle, water buffalo, goats, and sheep. So in cheese making part 2, which is this session, we want to just chat a bit on the cheddar cheese, which is made from cow's milk, the feta cheese, which is made from sheep's or goat's milk, the mozzarella cheese, which is made from buffalo milk, and even the Parmesan cheese, which is unpasteurized cow's milk. It's hard or crumbly. I want you all to understand the term butterfat and the relationship it has with cheese making. Butterfat is the term given to the fat in dairy products. Butterfat also contributes to the color variations in cheese making via the amount of carotenes in the milk present. The forage nutrient levels are obtained from beta carotene levels in milk. So when the cow gives off excess beta carotene in milk, that slight yellow color, it really comes in the form of forages fed to that animal. So you see, from cheese making, you go back to milk collection and even back to forage feeding. Butterfat contributes to a creamier texture and a richer flavor in cheese. let's start at the beginning. Forage feeding, and what is the importance of forage feeding as it relates to cheese making. In this presentation, the term forage has several meanings. However, we want to identify that meaning as any plant material that is consumed by herbivorous animals. In our case, forages have 5 main categories. They are mainly grasses, herbaceous legumes, tree legumes, silages, and crop residues. These are the types of forages you could feed to all your livestock to get a better milk quality and a better cheese quality. So some of them are like the mulberry, gliricidia, acacia, lucina, trichantera, mulatto, guinea grass, kudzu vine, elephant grass, paragrass, Bermuda grass, pangula grass. So everything starts from what you feed. These are some legume and grass combinations I suggest to my ruminant farmers so that they can mix the feed and give to their animals to have a more balanced diet. Some farmers have even gone into the value-added operations where they are processing these forages into pellets. We are in the process of commercializing such operations. So the more pellets, the more forage pellets your animals can eat, the more palatable that nutritive forage is, the more digestible it is the more feed the animal could consume, and the more volatile fatty acids the animal could send towards milk production, and indirectly for you, better cheese production. So these are some of the nutritional values of livestock milk. I want you all to focus on the columns that says cow, buffalo, goat, and sheep. Could you all identify which of the 4 has the highest water content? It's the cow. When you look at the protein content, when comparing the 4 major livestock species, you see that the sheep has the highest protein content. When you look at the fat content or butter fat content, you will also see that the sheep has the highest of all 4 livestock categories. All right, so this is an important table for you to decide where you want to get that particular type of milk from to make your cheese. So these are the breeds of cattle used for cheese production locally. There are the Jamaica Hope, the Jersey, the Zebu, and the Holstein. I strongly recommend the Jersey or the Jamaica Hope for cheese production, or milk production into cheese production. We have the Buffalipso, created right here in Trinidad and Tobago. We have many breeds of goats for cheese production, such as the Alpine, Toggenburg, Anglo-Nubian, and Saanen. Now, the one I would recommend for cheese production is the Anglo-Nubian. The breeds of sheep we have for cheese production, they are none used locally, so there's a big market to fulfill here. The breeds we have available in Trinidad and Tobago are the Whitehead Dorper, the Blackhead Dorper, the West African, and the Barbados Black Belly. The one I would like to choose going forward for cheese production is either the Whitehead or Blackhead Dorper. So I would like you all to understand the importance of collecting the milk in the right way, all right? Because we still have not reached into the cheese making process yet, because I'm trying to get you to the standard where you understand the quality of milk we want, all right? So this is a brief photo of how the milking technique is done. For those of you who have milked animals, this is called the lock and squeeze method, not the pull method. All right, we don't want mastitis on our animals or in the herd. It's called the lock and squeeze method. So the production of high quality milk depends on learning and routinely following the proper milking procedures, which was shown to you just before. All right, so the milker should always wear gloves. The milker's skin is a porous surface harboring many bacteria. All right, and the milker's glove is a non-porous surface that does not harbor material and can easily be cleaned. All right, so always wear gloves when you start the milking process. Generally speaking, this is a very summarized version of the milking procedure. It's where you use a pre-dipping solution, then you force strip to test for any types of mastitis or infections. You want to wash, you want to do adequate drying, you want to attach your milkers, or you could do it manually, and then you want to do a post-dip, and then you continue doing that at least 2 to 3 times per day, depending on the physiological state of the animal or the volume of milk it produces. This is an example of the milking equipment. On your left, you can see a photo of the bucket milker, right, with a small pump attached and a pulsator. On the right shows similar, right, where you have your air hose, you have a milk bucket, your pulsator, air tube, shell, and inflation. I want to stress once more that optimum nutrition is directly related to high quality milk output. This here is the Sainan goat. So now we could get into some of the kitchen materials used for cheese making. So I'm sure most of you have these items at home. They are cheese pot, the thermometer, measuring cups and spoons, your stainless steel skimmer, your curd knife, colander, cheese press, cheese draining mats, and a pH testing meter. All right, so those are things we could get in the kitchen, or we could even get substitutes. Now, what I want to give here is a general process for cheese making. We want to start with 10 kilograms of fresh cow's milk, preferably forage-fed cows, with more than 3% butter fat. You, as the owner or the chef, has 2 choices. You could either do use an acidifying agent, which is the lemon juice or vinegar, or you could do coagulation by using rennet, which is in the powder form or tablet form. I prefer to use the lemon juice because of the additional color and flavor it gives. You want to put that milk up to heat on your stove, and then slowly let that milk reach a heat of 80 to 82 degrees Celsius on average. When it reaches that heat, you turn it off, and then you cool for a few minutes until it goes back down to almost room temperature, which is 35 to 36 degrees Celsius. What I do if I am choosing lemon juice is to add lemon juice in 25 ml volumes until curdling occurs at its maximum. At times, you may use up to 200 ml volumes of lemon juice. It really depends on the strength of the lemon and where you get the source from. All right, in another instance, alternatively, you could add a starter culture, which is fermented lactic acid or sour milk. You could also do using the Rennet method by dissolving 1 tablet of rennet powder in 1 glass of water and add salt to that solution, and then add pot stir and then leave on the stove for 15 to 20 minutes. But like I said before, I prefer the lemon juice approach. After, you want to test for the curd firmness, where you stab the coagulum, all right, or the solid material on top with your forefinger and lift gently. If it breaks clean, the curd is ready for cutting. If it shatters with wrinkles, give it a bit more time and try again. After, you want to strain the pot contents using the colanders, cheesecloth, and mittens. All right, so what you want to do is separate the liquid material that is on the bottom and the solid or semi-solid material that's on the top. What you want to do after that is to place the semi-solid contents into a second cheesecloth and squeeze the moisture out. Now, if you all remembered, there are 5 classes of cheese, and it is really based on the moisture content. So based on the type of cheese you want to make, you squeeze as needed. Now, here is where it becomes innovative and creative and branding takes place. We want to really season the cheese with different types of salt, fresh exotic seasonings such as herbs, peppers, spices. Then you want to place the cheese into fabricated molds. It could be square, rectangle, star-shaped, moon-shaped, any frame you have, and secure on shelves for observation. And this is called the ripening process. And this is where the flavor develops. All right. If possible, you could try to turn at least 1 time per day, depending on the moisture content of the cheese. Few notes. Depending on the type of cheese, which is soft, semi-firm, or hard, check on a daily basis and taste for the flavor development and texture development for a period of between 2 to 8 weeks. Softer cheeses obviously develop earlier than later, and they could be used in many ways. Cheese could be used as a spread, a paste, sliced in chunks as appetizers, or even for cooking. Now, I said in this presentation, we really focus on 4 types of cheeses. Now, as a chef or a new business owner, you could become very creative. In presentation 1, I presented 10 different types of cheeses. The reason I narrowed down to these 4 is really because I wanted you all to understand which livestock we could use and the livestock sources of milk we could use to make any type of cheese we want. All right, so cheddar cheese usually originated in England, and the texture is hard and firm, and the livestock source is cows. This is how cheddar cheese looks. Feta cheese. The origin came from Greece. The texture varies with region, so there is no fixed description of how feta should be, and the livestock source is really sheep or goat milk. This is how feta cheese looks. Mozzarella cheese. Very interesting. Originated in Italy. All right, the texture is semi-soft, but the livestock source is water buffalo. Think about if you make mozzarella cheese in Trinidad and Tobago, how enormous that market is to supply. This is how mozzarella cheese looks. Semi-soft. And Parmesan cheese, you all are very familiar. Originated in Italy, it is hard and crumbly, so it's not usually hard and in a block form, but it's really hard and crumbly to be sprinkled or top dressed over food or dishes. And the livestock source again here is from cows, or the bovine species. And this is how Parmesan cheese can be presented. Like I said, I just chose these 4 types of cheeses so you'll understand where the source came from. The livestock milk that made these types of cheeses. What I did for you here in your spare time when you get the recording of this, you could click on the links or type in the links to observe commercial cheese making equipment, because presentation 1 focus more on subsistence type of cheese making or kitchen cheese making. In presentation 2, which is here, we want to focus more on commercial size operations, where we start with at least 100 to 200 liters of milk of a particular livestock source at one given point in time. Now, this is how small commercial cheese making equipment look. All right, you have your churns and you have stirrers. All right, and you could control temperature with the gauges below. You could even drain out the whey with the tap below as well. All right, so you see how convenient technology has made it. Well, like I said, convenient and easy for us to make cheese at the semi-commercial level. All right, and a semi-commercial operation usually starts at around 200 liters of fresh milk. All right, so this is when you pour the milk in there, and it starts to heat at the bottom, and then it starts to churn. All right, so you could have that mixture taking place. And as you churn and you add that acid or you add rennet, that is when the solids will be able to form at the top. You stop churning and then you leave. And then you strain. That's why you have the tap. below, all right, to drain all that whey. At the end of the process, this is how the cheese looks after you put it in a mold. Okay, so this is how the cheese making process takes place at a semi-commercial level. Now, in this presentation, I would briefly like to chat on vegan cheese. Now, I presented to you before a definition, a simple definition of what vegan is. Now, these are types of vegan cheese around the world, all right? Tofu Gouda. Now, it is spelled Gouda, but pronounced Gouda. Cashew brie. There's cashew almond cheese, aquafaba mozzarella, pink peppercorn nut cheese, carrot cheese. So if you search up any of these, there are hundreds of different recipes on how to make them. More importantly, for an entrepreneur in Trinidad and Tobago, I want to show you the sources of what they use to make these types of cheese and how to flavor these cheeses to get that unique taste and unique branding. So to make vegan cheese, you have to get an appropriate fat source. Remember, when we use livestock milk, we focus on the butter fat percentage, which was the fat in the milk. Now for vegan cheese, we want to get an alternate plant fat source. For instance, we could use coconut milk, cashew paste, oils, soybean oil or canola oil, plant-based milk, and you could add synthetic beta carotene for color as well, tapioca flour, sweet potato, arrowroot, different plant oils, pea protein, buckwheat, soy milk, miso. All of these contribute to making vegan cheeses. Potato starch, rice flour, sweet potato flour, plantain flour, cassava flour, dashin flour, chickpea brine. All of these again contribute to making vegan cheese. And the list goes on. Macadamia nuts, pecans, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, all of these. So we have a wide variety of options using our livestock species to get different types of milk to create different types of cheeses with different flavors. That's one avenue. If you want to venture into the vegan side of cheese making, these are a must in terms of raw material ingredients you need to make vegan cheese. Lastly, I would like to present to you how to flavor your cheese. This is where you become competitive. Even if you have the same types of milk or use the same ingredients, your flavoring of the cheese has to be very different. And this is one of your core competencies as a cheese maker. All right, so there are many different types of flavors you could add, such as your allspice, your bay leaf, basil. We could use black cumin, brown mustard, burnet, caraway, curry, cardamom, catnip, all of these, even celery seeds. So we have hundreds of ways to flavor that one particular product we are making. So we brand ourselves differently and we avoid competition with each other. All right, so we have things like chili pepper, scorpion pepper, scotch bonnet, pimentos, hot wax pepper, cinnamon, clove, coriander, chives, shadow benny, cumin, curry, fennel, even ginger. We have saffron, we have lemongrass, we have different types of the purple basil, we have mint, you have lavender, you have lemon balm, you have mace. So all of these are ways we could flavor our cheeses. Now I want us to become creative, and that is where we shall have the discussion period right after. All right, so like I said, the list goes on and on and on and on for different tastes and flavors. Nutmeg, oregano. We could decide if we want to sell to the Diabetic Association or the school feeding program or different niche markets, and our flavors will be what those markets want to taste. All right, rosemary, rue, parsley, saffron, sage, sorrel, all of these are different flavoring methods to be used after the cheese making is done. I just want to give a quick note on lactose-free cheese so that we understand our terms. So lactose is mainly found in the whey, which is the liquid component after the separation is done, after the acidification process or the Rennet process via coagulation. So hard or aged cheese has the least or lowest amount of lactose content because it is aided by bacteria to break down over time, and it is aged. And such cheeses are Parmesan, Swiss, and Cheddar. However, soft cheeses are very high in the lactose content because they are not that aged. I also want you all to think about the entire value chain system, and remember that if 13% of milk is milk solids and 87% is water or whey, all of these are value-added products you could utilize after you collect the whey, because that's 87% of the volume you originally started with. What can you make? We need to become creative. We can make smoothies, shakes, cooking mediums for grain, provisions. You could make it into sweet whey or acid whey in terms of paneer or feta, or even restrain to make a type of soft cheese. You could actually make something called whey lemonade. You could look it up. You could also try ricotta cheese. So we must utilize every ounce or ml of the milk that we got. Some of the questions I'd like us to discuss now as a group. What is the ratio of dairy cattle milk in terms of milliliters to cheese in grams? Could anyone answer that at the end? What is the potential for flavored cheese as a value-added product? What seasonings and spices can be used in local cheeses? I do not want any recommendations from the list I provided before. I want local resources only. All right, take a minute and write down those questions so we can chat on them a bit more. I thank you all for all your attention, and I shall stop sharing the screen now so I can answer your questions and have the discussion.
Thank you very much, Riyadh, for that very informative presentation.
I'm
sure many will agree of the logical way that you developed the presentation, showing the importance of nutrition, the forage that should be fed to them, as well as the different breeds and recommended breeds to make certain, to make cheese. Yeah. And that whole point of proper milking is now there's the whole issue of animal welfare.
Correct.
For consumers. Yeah. You have quite a number of questions.
So I shall start to address them.
Before we get into the questions, Riyadh,
yes,
I just, I always like to slow things down a bit at times. Yeah. It is very easy to go on YouTube and look at somebody making cheese, right? There are lots of videos on that process. However, if you would realize in this homegrown session, you didn't get something like that, because our goal is not just to show you, okay, this is how you make cheddar, right? What we want is for you to understand the entire business process, all the different dynamics that go into it. Because as a nation, we have lots of talented and gifted people, right? We have lots of people, probably everybody, mother and grandmother, have a whole list of real excellent things that they make. What we need much more of is entrepreneurs, people who really understand business and can take these same talents, these same gifts, these same family recipes, right? And turn these things now into successful business models. And this is what we want, and this is why we framed this particular course like that. So after you go through this, you could still now go and look at some YouTube videos that will show you how to actually do it, right? But your whole mindset and approach is going to be much more expanded and much more enlightened. All right, so yes, we do have lots of questions. Thanks again, Riyadh. So you all can go and dive right in to answer any questions.
No problem. So I'll just call the student's name and I'll read the question and answer it. Okay, from Julianne. Freshly squeezed lemon juice or can the store-bought ones be used? Yes, both could be used, but I prefer to use the rough skin lemon. All right, freshly used. From Risha, regarding lemon or lime juice, can one be used that was previously frozen, as lemon and limes may not always be accessible in the budget-friendly? Correct. Yeah, you could use frozen juice. You just throw it back out because the chemical components are still there, so it could work as well. All right. And here, I'm enjoying the session. Very informative. Thanks so much. Omega, where do you get molds? Actually, it's something you could make at home. Any basin you have, or you know the fancy molds that your parents or your baking friends make cake in, you could take one of those. All right. It does not always have to be made of wood. It could be any shape. It is really just a container. Okay. Ricine, I believe. Do you need fresh cow's milk or can I use store-bought milk? So Ricine, I just want to explain to you very clearly that when you buy the UHT milk, even if it's full cream, you get 3% butterfat or less. You realize when you open that 1 liter of milk and you pour it in a glass, you don't see much fat floating up because they have taken away the fat from that. And guess what they are going to make? Cheese, butter, ice cream, yogurt. So you get really the byproduct of that so-called fresh milk. All right, so fresh cow's milk is preferred, especially when you have forage-fed ruminant animals. All right, so Matthew, I'm a pizza chef. Whoa, that's awesome, Matthew. I'm interested in making my own mozzarella, both with buffalo lips and cow's milk. All right, Matthew. So generally, you could try to make mozzarella from the cow's milk, but having the name mozzarella is closely associated with using buffalo's milk or water buffalo milk. All right, if you just make another type of cheese from cow's milk, it's just Matthew cheese. All right, so we want to stick to using the buffalo ipso's milk. But what is very important is the texture of the milk, the texture of the cheese, the color of the cheese, and the flavor of the cheese, especially on which pizza you want to put it on. All right, or which crust you want to put it in. Okay. Are there any places I can purchase the milk curds only? Sadly, no, because one, most people are not aware of the potential of cheese making in Trinidad and Tobago, but they are widely understanding of how much raw material or raw milk we could produce. So you usually purchase the raw milk at a farm gate, all right, or on a farm. So yeah, most likely you will have to start from the milk level, which, like I say, Matthew, if it takes about half an hour your time, that's a lot. But you get the best stuff to start to make your cheese. All right. From Collins, how does this affect shelf life and what is the place to ripen the cheese? So Collins, shelf life, so it depends on the type of cheese you want to make. Remember the 5 classes in terms of the textures. If you want to make a hard cheese, in presentation 1, the students saw that some hard cheeses could last up to 3 years in the ripen phase just to develop that particular texture and flavor. All right, and where is the place to ripen the cheese? Just on a normal kitchen shelf. No AC, no anything special, just in our room temperature. All right. Zaskia, what temperature should the cheese be rested at to ripen? Room temperature. Literally just room temperature. How do we mix the seasoning and salt into the cheese? So you know when you separate the curds and before you put it in the mold, you put in all the seasonings in there. either dehydrated or fresh, depending on the type of cheese you want to make, and then you just slap it in the mold and leave it. All right, so it's as simple as that. Collins again, how marketable is artisan cheese as opposed to what we purchase in the market? Collins, when you look at a niche market and the price they pay for handcrafted, locally made, fresh, organically produced cheese, I am a director of a goat cheese making business, and I could tell you it's very profitable. Yeah? So that's something you could venture into, and I don't believe we should have much competition in the next few years because we have large markets to satisfy, especially as the world is taking a more health-conscious aspect to consumption of food. Omega, is there a quantity in the market to get easy access and supply? Oh, we have tons and tons of dairy farmers who sell farm-gate milk. Tons. And I have a lot of farmers who produce goat milk as well. Right? So that is definitely not in shortage. Right, Matthew, what are your thoughts on vegetable rennet? Where locally can we buy rennet? So Matthew, this has been something I've been looking for the past few years. Most food outlets or groceries don't sell it. Usually order it on Amazon in the tablet or powdered form. And it works really well. All right, so I know that process usually works. Omega, can an individual make this cheese at home? Yes, Omega. Even my students last week, one of their assignments was to make a type of cheese from the raw milk that we provided. And they did really well. And they were 10 to 15-year-old students with this almost the same presentation. So it is very easy to make home using their parents' supplies. All right, Desiree, what about home use and can we use our KitchenAid? Definitely, Desiree. That's why I pointed out the materials found in the kitchen. So it's literally that easy to make. So think about when you're boiling rice. You put the rice, you wash the rice, you put it in water, you boil, then you strain. Or some people just boil down. In this instance, we strain, and the strained material in the same colander is what you use to season, pack in a container, and that's it. That's the cheese making process at home. All right, so Collins again. In making the forage, are there any additional medicinal vitamins that are required to enhance the feed? No, Colin. These are ruminant animals and they are solely really supposed to be on forage. All right, and the forage has enough protein, calcium, phosphorus, carbohydrate sources, digestible fibers in the legumes and the grasses. Cohen, I think Cohen put up a picture here. Katrina, is cream cheese being taught as well? Katrina, what we want to do is do a session 3 because we have a lot more topics to cover. So I would add cream cheese to the session 3, if that is okay. All right, cream. I was making a note of it here, so I get this done one time. Cream cheese will be taught in session 3. Collins, are there any producers of vegan cheese in Trinidad and Tobago? Very few, and they have their niche markets covered. On my count, it's less than 10 for sure. All right, I don't know about just 3. What is that? Mango leaf? Most likely not, Desiree. It's not mango leaf. It most likely was curry leaves you saw or bay leaf. All right, Zaskia, does it only have to be dried seasonings? No, it could be fresh seasonings as well. You could become that creative with making cheese and the flavors you want to add up. Collins, seeing that COVID has placed us in a position with restaurants, how can we really deal with marketing the flavored cheeses? So Collins, how I approach doing new products in a new market or existing market, I start with doing generally at food fairs or free giveaways or samples. Now, how I give away gifts is by making pieces of cheese and give away to relatives, so I don't have to spend a few $100s on buying a gift. Now, in that way, you practice your cheese making skills, you give that gift that you would not spend hundreds of dollars on, and you get feedback from them. All right, so it's a win-win process. Zaskia would be learning different methods for different types of cheeses. So Zaskia, generally, it's the same process to make any type of cheese. What is different is the raw materials you use, which is the beginning of the livestock milk in the types or the vegan, and the last part, which is really how you want to season that cheese. Everything in the middle is generally the same. All right, so it's a simple process. Collins, with you being in the business of cheese making, can you share a bit on public response and the real profitability of a small enterprise? Please give some deeper insights. Thanks. Okay, Collins, when we now started, the layman on the road couldn't afford our cheese because it was a really high priced cheese. So what we did was had to go to all the Italian restaurants, Texas de Brazil, and all of those who wanted that out of Trinidad experience and the flavors in those appetizers, and they will buy a product from you. Additionally, people who have, well, certain types of disabilities or incapabilities in terms of health, those are your target markets, all right, because they have to survive on a particular type of diet. All right, so remember, you're not producing for mass, you're producing for quality and a specific niche market. And everything in Trinidad is about marketing, all right? So you have to start somewhere, start on the ground, find out in the area who needs some type of cheese, who would like to taste different types, get feedback, try to make the cheese, try to make a few different types, and do a few giveaways, and get that response from people. I think I see 17 more messages plus more. What about cream cheese?
Just now, Ria, before you continue, with that same question, this is where your marketing comes in, right? Because apart from just the people you could touch and feel, you can use your social media, you can use the internet, right? And these technologies that we have to start attracting the type of people who may be interested in the cheese that you are offering. Because remember, even if you look at, let's say, a grocery, right? Depending on the grocery you go to, what's the type of person that goes to a grocery like that? What's the budget that they're working with? So even if the type of cheese you have might not be at the price range that, you know, just the average person going in the grocery to purchase it, that is not a problem. This is where your business system comes in, and how you set up yourself, how you set up your marketing and all of that, right? And these are the type of things we go through like in our business mastermind. So back to you again, Riyad.
Thanks for that, Cohen. All right, so yes, cream cheese we'll cover in session 3 because that involves dealing with cultures and different microorganisms. All right, so when you understand forage production, livestock made cheese, vegan made cheese, then we could take you now to the microbial level. All right, and that alters taste as well. So Keisha, not sure if anyone asked before, but you can see the conditions for maturing the cheese. Keisha, you really just need to let it sit for a period of time, all right, in the normal room temperatures.
Riyad, you missed the question before, Keisha.
Which one is that? Let's see. What about the cream cheese? Is that a different level?
This calendar, as part of your entrepreneurial concept, will you be creating the circles for distribution? Example, are there connections for mass production on shelves when product is completed?
Oh, no, seen it. Okay, let me just read that over once more. Sorry about that. So from Liz, as part of your entrepreneurial concept, would you all be creating the circles for distribution? We could start you off at the correct places, Liz, for sure, in terms of supermarkets, hotels, restaurants, and even for export, but only when you get at the export level. We don't want to damage our relationship if your product is not sound, okay? And that most likely will not happen in year 1 of current operations, all right? Are there connections for mass production on shelves when the product is completed? There are the connections. You have to link the dots. We could provide the platform, the technical expertise, the guidance, but that is where your entrepreneurial spirit also comes into play. Okay. Well, I've seen a number here. Thank you for this presentation. It is that 1 liter of cow's milk can yield 10 kilograms of cheese. No, you have it wrong side. It's 10 kilograms of cow's milk will give 1 kg of cheese. It's a 10-to-1 ratio. All right. Yes, right. Well, oh, you correct yourself there. 10-to-1. Okay. So again, from Liz, I also saw that you provided contact information in the various fields of your expertise in going forward with this partnership, or are you guiding professionals through the process? So we have the mastermind program, Liz. If you want to do your own business plan and you want to do your own groundwork, I could train you to develop that. And I also do that professionally through my business as well. So I build business plans for farmers and I get them in those circles as well. So either way, you will get the help you need through homegrown or tropical agriculture. All right, Desiree, I'm seeing 20 more messages. Good. Desiree, how can we know which farmer to purchase from, especially cows being fed with the correct grass? So Desiree, that is why you visit the farm before you purchase milk, or you select 3 forage-fed cows farms and you buy 1 liter of milk from each farm over maybe a 2-3 week period to see if there's consistency with the product quality you get from each farm, and then you see which one gives you the most butterfat content from each liter, and that's how you kind of single out in terms of which milk to choose from a farm. Alternatively, you could give the farmer that knowledge to feed these type of legumes or grasses so that he will feed that, and that is his or her cost, and you just go and collect the better product at the end with more butterfat. Okay, so there are many ways to approach this. Okay, Ricine, where can we get cow's milk? Well, the entire of Carlson Field area for sure. I used to live in Carlson Field in the dairy farming area, but a lot of people in the vicinity don't have cows anymore. Well, Ricine, I will let you know now that the authorities are not paying the farmers what the farmers need or want. So the farmers are selling at the farm gate now to the public, the general public. All right, I could direct it a few as well. Anthea, is there anything you could use to make cheese last longer? Generally, when it goes through the acid type of coagulation, that acidification process preserves the cheese to some extent. In presentation 1, I think slide 3 or 4, you would have seen how cheese naturally is preserved when it goes through that process. I could also say it really depends on what type of cheese you want to make. So the harder the cheese, the more aged it is the longer obviously it could last. All right, soft cheeses tend to go quicker. Now in the business that I am in, the harder cheeses just gain a better price even when we don't get to sell it. Okay, so it develops more flavor and we can just call a higher price at a later date. All right. And yes, there are some preservatives that you could use in cheese making. I could note that for presentation 3, but remember, if you want to target the healthy market, you really don't want to use much additives. All right. So I'll just put preservatives on to discuss in presentation 3. All right, I'm seeing 21 more messages. Liz, interested in the feta cheese preparation? Are there different types of feta? Definitely, yes. Does that depend on the flavoring, or is feta one standard cheese? So feta is not a standard cheese. There are hundreds of recipes to make feta. However, the main thing is where you collect that milk from. That will determine. You can have the best recipe in the world, but if you have poor quality milk, you will have poor quality cheese. So your secret is not your recipe. Your secret is your raw material source. Your other secret is how you season or your flavor. Right? And feta could be used either for goat or sheep milk. And here, if you are doing it at home, oh no, we have 4 directors in the team and we are doing it in a 40-foot container, and we don't really allow much gas because of biosecurity. The standard we want to reach is ready to export, and we are getting there, well, after 2 years of operations. But it takes a lot of microbial checks and foot bath and wheel bath, and everything needs to be very clean. All right. Liz, what is the average expiration date given for feta cheese on shelves? Feta cheese, it can last a few weeks actually, but the main thing is how much moisture you leave in the cheese. If you leave a little bit of moisture, the cheese will last longer. All right, and Thea, is there any ingredient you use to make it last longer shelf life? You could use some preservatives that will really acidify the cheese a bit more, but that will also change the flavor. All right, so we have to be careful of what we want to use to preserve. All right, and I do really like the thought if somebody want to just tell me they have some cheese and, well, we are getting selling it so long, unless they specially crafting it for it to taste a certain way or have that texture a certain way. Yeah, I don't just want cheese that didn't sell. That's a turn off for me. All right. Can we use Angostura bitters to flavor cheese? Yes. That was actually an idea by one of my 10-year-old students this week, Owen. And he's a vegan. So he had that idea this week.
I find this 10-year-old getting on real bad boy.
He's a smart fella. I could see he becoming close to where I am at my age.
Right.
All right. Ricin, rennet and vegetable rennet is not locally produced product. No ricin. I import all, and most of the other farmers import as well. Unless you could create your own sauce. But if you have to source the rennet, you obviously have to get it from a calf or a young ruminant animal. All right. So, and you kind of know the process, how that is removed. Katrina, can silicone molds be used to mold the cheese? I would prefer something real safe, organic wood. Just, pieces of wood to make that mold. All right. And I like how that looks as well. So when you're doing your marketing and you take a nice piece of cheese, a picture of a piece of cheese in a wooden mold with a fancy decorative herb on top with a few chili peppers on top. For me, I could taste that. All right. Liz, is there a specific license needed to operate a cheese business, or is it a food badge? Just a food badge because it's a food business. Okay. Have you exported your cheese on international soil? Not yet, because of the HACCP protocols, the FAO. Well, okay, it goes really with the country you want to export to. You need to have their food standards there. Make sure you don't cross any of the microbial organisms in the cheese. Make sure there's food safety. Korea has to test it. You have to go through non-food certification. You have to go through a lot of certifications for food before you they kind of deem that an edible source to be exported from Trinidad. Yeah, I could put you onto a food scientist if you would like after too, or we could chat on it a bit more. Oh, well, I cannot share the experience there. Yeah, it's a bit tough. Reason being, this is not a fruit you want to export, and it just did a post-harvest dip. You dip it in water and bleach, and it can last 21 days. This is something a human is going to consume maybe as soon as they take off the package. They might not wash it before, obviously, or they wouldn't, take it through any other heating process. It's ready to eat. So when you have products like that, you have to be very careful of what you want to export. Yeah, and you must also think about why. Well, in terms of economies of scale, are you producing enough to supply here? If you are thinking about exporting, would you compete with the other exporters, or do you have a high value cheese? So those are some things you could think about as well. All right, Omega. As for Trinidad, it may be a huge supply, but as for Tobago, my chances are slim. How should I do my screening and make the best choice? Well, Omega, are you speaking about the market? The market, I'm guessing is the market. So like I said, you have to go on the ground. Tobago has a lot of food festivals. And two things with Tobago people. They pay for the food they want to eat for sure. And the second thing is they think about their health much more than Trinidadian people. I can tell you that off the bat. All right, so I think you have a great chance in Tobago with selling this type of product. Especially competition might be low there too. All right, seeing 28 more messages. Cohen, I think the session might last longer than we think.
Well, Riyadh, I want to know if there's some kind of magic well or something, because every time is about 10 questions back. Yesterday we had 20 more messages, and now it's gone to 28.
29. I'm surprised it reached 30 yet. All right, so I'll continue. Zaskia, is there a specific time frame to leave cheese for to rest? Generally 2 to 8 weeks, but it depends on the type of the recipe you want to follow. All right, Collins. There are some cheeses that have a hard wax on it. Tell us about that. Collins, that is just really when you leave the cheese for a very long period of time. And that is like when, it has the outside surface that will get into contact with the oxygen and some oxidation takes place. That is really the interaction with the surface. And that is where the inside of the cheese stays a certain way, but the outside looks a little different. All right. So Liz, on an average, what is the startup cost for cheese production? Liz, that's a very hard question to answer off the bat. It really depends on what are your scales of operation, how much liters you want to start with, what type of livestock milk you want to start with, what is your process in terms of cost of materials. You want to use kitchen materials, you want to use commercial. That is a question I can't really answer here off the bat. You could book up maybe a private session with me to do a 1-hour consultancy for that one, because a lot more factors we'll have to discuss. All right, Anthea, what about cream cheese? I think I read that one already. That will be in session 3. Timothy, is there special equipment for commercial vegan cheese? Generally, Timothy, is the same type of equipment as the ingredients you use that makes it vegan, not the equipment. All right. Cohen, do you have any pics of molds to show us? Not offhand, Cohen. It might be on my other laptop, so I could get some from UE that I had the students make. All right. Anthea, I'm making cheese at home. Do you use a special mold or you use what you have at home? Does it matter? It doesn't really matter. Use whatever mold you have at home. All right. Collins, what is the average cost for 1 kilogram of milk, both goat and cow? So 1 kilogram of cow milk in Trinidad raw is $10 TT. 1 kilogram of goat milk could be around $30 to $40. All right. It really depends on which farmer you buy it from, how much animals he have, you see, if he has excess, and the quality of goat milk that you are going to receive. 33 more questions. Timothy, how do you get HACCP certified? Timothy, I could put you onto my food scientist colleague and he could guide you on the food safety methods. All right. But definitely have to interact with the Ministry of Public Health for sure. Right. And you'll have to do some testing and labeling and certification. All right. So Omega, I was speaking in terms of the milk sourcing. Oh, you were saying in Tobago don't have much milk? I could name at least 20 goat farmers, goat and sheep farmers in Tobago who I know as personal friends. And all of them are my MSc students and BSc students. So if you want that link there, I could give you that as well. Okay, Zaskia. I think he was talking about the baby bell cheese that is coated in wax. I think. Yeah, well, you see, obviously they wouldn't tell you what formula they use or what type of components. They'll list general ingredients, because if they give you that secret formula, you could make the same Trinidad baby bell. Yeah, or Tobago baby bell. All right, Liz, in your presentation, you mentioned that the sheep is not bred locally. No, we have sheep bred locally, but not bred for milk production. They are used for meat production. And I would like to recommend, as a livestock scientist, using the whitehead Dorper or the blackhead Dorper breeds. Reason being because I believe the milk content is of a better quality and the butterfat content is higher. All right, for someone like myself that would make Feta, yes, you could try to use it to make Feta. How do we source milk from the sheep? I am not a goat consumer. So you really just go to the farm gate and you ask the farmers to buy raw fresh milk when they harvest milk every morning or late afternoon. All right, 34 new messages. Collins, what type of wood can be used for mold making? Anyone that is really unscented is safe. I think that was the last question there. Risha, am I correct?
Yes, that looks like
Yes,
that was the last question we had so far.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Great. So, certainly, yes. So that certainly shows how popular this topic of cheese is. Certainly excellent questions. Just to Kerwin, for those who are interested in the recording for this session and part 1, can you just say a word on that, please, how they would be able to access it?
Right. So a lot of the would have already received part 1. However, if you want to get any recording, any past recording, the price for the recordings are $80, and you can contact us either on the Facebook page, our Homegrown Solutions Facebook page, or the WhatsApp number. So the same, basically the same contacts you all would have been using, right? And what was the other question?
No, just with regards to the recordings, how to get
Right,
them.
yes, yeah, right. So all recordings are $80, and so once a session is finished, it takes us about 2 or 3 days to get the recording up and edited and everything like that. So by Monday, the recording for this one should be available.
Okay, so we have 2 other questions, Riyadh. One from Matthew. Did you cover where I can buy the cheese curds?
Yeah, Matthew wanted to buy the cheese curds alone. No, they don't sell that from my 14 years of knowledge.
Right. And Zaskia wants to know, do the molds need to have holes?
Not necessarily. Reason being, remember, we live in the tropical environment and we have humidity and temperature. So the excess moisture that would have kind of leaked out, it will actually evaporate over time. So you don't really need you don't need holes in the mold unless you're making supremely soft cheese, which I don't think you might be making.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we answer? I see Omega has beaten us to answering one of the questions. Any other questions? So Riyadh, you have your 3 questions that you
Yeah, I could ask them now, and the students could answer. The first question was, I think they answered this already. What is the ratio of dairy cattle milk to cheese? It's 10:1. What is the potential for flavored cheese as a value-added product? Could anyone tell me what is the possible potential? You could type. Right. So, Risha, we didn't get any responses yet?
No.
Okay.
We have one response in. We have Artisan Market.
3. That was for number 3, I believe.
Artisan Market.
We could tie them in, that is not a problem. And okay, so, and even I could recite number 3 and we could try to answer it as well. What local seasonings and spices could we use to flavor cheese? Not the ones that I listed before.
Right, I think we have a response to that high up in the chat already. Let me see. Where was it? Right. We have chili infused, mango infused, pimento berry garlic, cheese, neem cheese, and beer cheese. Beer cheese, okay.
Like that one, Cohen?
Huh?
Like that one, the beer cheese.
No, I just find it interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that. I think that I've seen that being used abroad.
So we have garlic again, shadow benny. All right, so anyone could think of anything that was not mentioned? Well, of course, I mentioned my Angostura bitters. Guava, somebody's asking, can guava and cashew be used as seasoning?
Anything could be used as a seasoning.
Oh gosh.
Is either you want them stay by you or you don't want them come back?
Somebody says punchin. That would be a rather interesting. And spice and cinnamon.
Punchin and pepper.
Indeed.
Heat and heat.
Coconut strip.
Right, so you have to become very creative and use local products that nobody else in the world could replicate. All right, and that's what makes us different. one, the quality of milk we get in will be important, and two, the way we season our cheese will be important.
Okay, somebody's asking what about bhaji for
Yeah,
vegetarian?
bhaji cheese, yeah.
Yeah, because spinach and cheese goes well, so bhaji, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to just throw out one more idea. When we have Cohen later on in the future, I don't really want to say a wine making class, but for the ones who can pick up the hint, if you could source local wines, you could tag that with your local cheese, especially for the cuisine chefs on board here. When you pair those two, you have a nice event going on. All right?
Yeah.
Look listed as a future goal.
Yeah,
All
jackfruit
right.
and
It says
spice.
Wine
jackfruit,
and cheese lounge. Yeah.
jackfruit and spice.
And Colin said that he thinks an alcohol cheese can work in a high-end bar.
Right. If you think, the question is, do you think alcohol cheese can work in a high-end bar?
Yes, Colin, once you could get it to work and mix properly and stay in the form you wanted. That's why you have to try all of these at home. Like I said, if I give the 23 participants in this class the same recipe, I'll get 23 different types of cheese because all of us would have sourced milk from a different place. We'd have a different protein and fat content in the butter fat, all right?
Right.
Or the milk solids.
We have a high-grade cheese here as well.
Right? So that's something you can sell to Jamaica because that's where things happening right now.
So could we use this to make vegan cheese as well?
Well, you gotta let somebody make it, go and try it, and you gotta fill out that questionnaire way after.
Way after.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that one might have real high export potential.
Yeah. So you need to become very creative. All right. So I know now it's almost 9:20, and cocoa. All right. So Colin's here saying the local cocoa. Right. So you could even try all of those. Right. As compared
Moringa.
to the market. Yeah.
So as you all could see, I mean, the list is long. So this is where the experimentation comes in, right? Okay, we have a question. What about the Caribbean islands for production as compared to the international market?
Liz, I think you mean you want to supply the Caribbean islands first, right? The CARICOM, maybe 16 islands first, and then move to the international market. Yes, that's a good idea. So that's generally how we'd like to do things. However, one thing we need to make sure, even though it might have easier access from our island to theirs, is if we could compete on a cost basis. All right? That's very important. You can't go and really sell cheese in Jamaica. You know why? Because they have hundreds and thousands and millions of tons of milk being produced. I think Jamaica has their own local cheese or a few different varieties. All right, so we know we maybe can't compete on the market with price, with flavor, maybe yes. So we have to do proper market research. All right, and check the international standards and the prices of some of the products. Yeah, there's a tip, exploring the other islands. Yeah. Well, Colin, that's a good way to start, making different cheeses for Trinidad and Tobago. In my first presentation, for those of you who have watched it, or plan to buy the recording, you'd have seen that some places in the world coined making their cheese, and no other country in the world could make that type of cheese. All right, why haven't we in Trinidad developed something like that?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of potential. So
All
imagine.
right. So Riyadh, let me just add. You see, Katrina is saying that she makes local homemade wines.
Right.
And we also have, I think, you as a chef. So you see, even the collaboration, right? Because just as with the business mastermind group, we have, well, basically everybody in the mastermind is doing something different. So apart from just what you want to do, when we get together for our group sessions, you now could even see what other people are doing, right? So we might have people coming out of our session who will produce the milk, right? And you now could get the milk from those people. We might have folks who are chefs and cooks that you could probably make the cheese to supply to these folks who are already in a restaurant setting. We have someone who is doing wine. So, you know, if you have a page, they have a page, you can combine your products, market them together. So there's lots of room for opportunity. We just have to have the right eyes in the type of environment to promote that. So we don't promote competition. Right? Homegrown solutions is about collaboration. We will achieve much more by working together and forming strategic partnerships.
Cohen, I would like to just ask if everybody, if they could, you could put on your video and you could unmute and just let me know how you think the session was today for that, well, that 1 hour period. And if you all had seen the previous session and how you think that session was as well. I'd really like the feedback, please.
Right, so you all, you know, once you want to speak, go ahead, unmute yourself, put on your video. The floor is yours right now. All right, we have Matthew. Matthew, I really wanted to hear from you, so I'm glad you
Good night, everyone.
Hey, Matthew, how are you doing? Good night.
I'm fine. I'm fine. Forgive me. I had orders today, so I'm a bit drained.
That's okay. We're hearing you good.
I found the both sessions were pretty interesting. Cheese making, well, especially with my pizza background, has always been something that you know, I've really been trying to research. So from the time I saw the class, I jumped at it immediately. The only, well, do you all have plans, hopefully in the future, when things with COVID, you know, somewhat normalize it? Do you all have plans to have like a hands-on training session where we could even try making the cheeses in class?
We could try that definitely, Matthew. Now, I did that for dozens and dozens and dozens of students over many years. Now, because I have 5 jobs, Matthew, and 8 businesses to run, I'm always busy, and maybe by the end of the month I'll be all over the world again. So it's a bit hard to get me to, you know, dedicate that 2-3 hours to get in a class ready and physically ready. But I have done it many times over, you know. But we could try to organize something. Cohen, we could chat on it a bit after, if that is okay.
Yeah, definitely. And Matthew, I would love to have a conversation with you as well. So let's see if we could connect the coming
Anytime.
week. Right?
Anytime.
Listen, I know we have a pizza chef. We have our value-added products, you know. And just yesterday.
Well, even with my pizzas, I'm trying very heavily to utilize local ingredients. So the whole idea, because I'm doing something close to Neapolitan style pizzas, which is the Italian style pizzas.
Yeah.
Right.
And instead of, well, I leave the certain ingredients for like the bigger restaurants.
Yeah.
For me, I want to treat local ingredients the way restaurants would treat international ingredients.
Yeah.
So, you know, even with my tomato sauce, they use the Italian tomatoes. I use local tomatoes.
Matthew, I don't want to bore everybody to death, but just give me
I understand.
time.
We will talk on it. We'll talk on it some other time.
Right. With your flour, using a local source of flour or a portion of it?
Yes, a local source of flour, yes.
So we could make 10 different types of pizza doughs, from sweet potato to dashing to plantain.
Right.
10 to 20% of that in your normal flour mix, and it will still rise. Right? So all of the experiments I did at UE. So we could get back the data and run
I would love to I'm open to experimenting.
When you're speaking about putting pineapples, we have varieties of pineapples here from St. Vincent that are much juicier per square centimeter. So when you bite, you can actually have more flavor, not just more moisture. When you talk about sweet peppers, we have different cell wall contents, and we can pack flavor in their cell walls. So each component of your pizza, Matthew, I could help you develop on a whole different level.
As I say, I'm ready to experiment, because I really, that's something that I really want to try to do. Make a Trinidadian pizza that's not like the fast food chain pizzas.
And you will get
people to come here,
and
especially since I'm aiming for street food. I'm aiming for street food. My ovens are portable. So you're still getting that brick oven style pizza.
Yeah, that crunch.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
Matthew, we need to chat because just last night I entered pizza into my journal because I'm thinking, okay, you know, homegrown, we always encourage value-added products. We want to make cheese. Come on. So Matthew,
Yes.
I live at Risha and Ashman. Matthew, homegrown will be commissioning you to at least develop one or two specialty pizzas for us.
I am ready to experiment. Let's get it
Excellent,
done.
excellent.
And Matthew, people are asking you to state the name of your business and where you're located. So if you could probably put that in the chat or tell us.
I definitely will. I'll share it in the chat, but you can. Well, the name of the business is Kaisu City Pizza. 868 degrees. But the name is, you know, I'll share all the information in the chat.
All right, thanks for that. Mr. Timothy, I see you have engaged your video. So if you want to check in. Okay, right. So just unmute.
Hi. Good night, everyone.
Hey, good night, Helen.
I'm good. I'm still on the road, so I've been in and out of the session tonight, so I apologize if I miss anything.
No, you're very recording.
All right. This session was very good for me tonight. Welcome to the newcomers, basically. You're in for a treat, and you'll get value.
Definitely.
Right. Well, I asked all my questions in chat already, so
Awesome.
it was pretty much, yeah.
All right. So Giselle, you wanna share some of your experience thus far with respect to the cheese making?
Well, right now with the course itself or the actual cheese making process?
The actual cheese making process.
Oh, well, we are still trying to get our flavors together and textures and all these different things together. It's not it could be a tedious process, but I think once you set your mind towards your goal, you'll be able to accomplish what you set out to do. So as I said, right now we are still looking for the different flavors and trying to tweak everything together. So I don't have much to say on that right now, but
let me just give you a recommendation, Giselle. So how you want to approach the process when you get that perfect type of milk, there's a tick in the box, so you have that down. What you want to do is try to get the perfect consistency after. So you are literally making from one type of milk 5 different consistencies, from hard to very soft. After you have made that, forget the taste. You just want to get consistency down. After you choose which consistency you want, you move a step further and experiment with at least 10 different flavors. When you get the correct consistency and you have the correct milk. And then you will choose now how to improve on the flavor that you choose. And that's how you kind of narrow down into having one good cheese. And from that now you backtrack and you make other variations.
Okay.
Yeah, you can try that.
Okay.
Right, so thanks for that. Yes, Omega.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, my take on this class was extremely very important, not just to me, but to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago as a whole, because as we all realize that our country is plagued by so many lifestyle diseases, and as such, individuals have developed a likeness for locally grown stuff. And I know, as for Tobago itself, that most individuals are intact with local and promote eat local. So when I saw this ad, I saw it as an opportunity to get involved and to learn of the process. However, it has channeled my mind with the different ideas. Even when I actually thought of having like a beer cheese and garlic infused, like how it has the garlic infused coconut oil.
Right.
So those would have I would have based some of my ideas upon that.
Yep.
as well as looking at people who are suffering from diabetes, etc.
Right.
So this market is
You know what you're doing there, Omega? You target your market first. You see how smart the student is? She's targeting her market first and backtracking what they need. So now to go, she is scrambling for a market now, you know, she identified market first and working backwards. And that is what true entrepreneurs do. Right? So I really commend that move, Omega.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Riyadh, I'm seeing we having much more candidates for our mastermind, our business mastermind group, right?
Yeah.
This was really an amazing session. Okay, so somebody's asking, is anyone here vegetable producers? You mean besides Riyadh?
If anybody wants to be added to our free farmers network to get sources of local livestock and crops, you could WhatsApp me a full name to 3075444 and just put farmers group, and I can add it by tomorrow morning, latest Monday, because I have a lot of work to do. So, but yeah, I'll get it and I'll ask my secretary to add you all. All right. So a free farmers group, you could spread the information to anybody. Just WhatsApp your full name and just put farmers group, so I know that is the purpose of the text, and you'll be added soon. All right. Let me just read the comments here, Cohen, if we have a minute or two again.
Yeah, man, you go ahead.
So from Liz, very informative Liz. From Desiree, great. Right, from Liz, thanks you so much for your time. Thanks so much for everybody who contributed. I think it was a very interactive and beneficial session. Now, there's only so much you could learn and absorb within an hour. What I try to do is force your minds to open wider than you want to tunnelly think. All right, that may not be a correct word to use, but that's generally what I want to do. All right, I want to open up your brains to the far end.
We'll have a talk with Oxford for them to add it, Riyadh.
Yeah, because you know that's why we're reaching a world class. I think everybody here from the comments really enjoyed the session. Like I said, I really appreciated the crowd and all the comments and contributions. So, Cohen, I think we have a lot of work to do still going forward.
Yes, somebody says I'm really happy I joined this group. It opened my eyes a lot. And yeah, so you know, this is the difference between one of our sessions and just looking at a follow along YouTube video, because I know, you know, some of you would have asked, do I have to have milk, you know, on what products we need to get ready, because you were expecting a follow along type session, right? And you know, I'm glad we were able to help you see the type of possibilities and have a much better understanding of business. Because I will say this, in our minds, even how we view business, so the guy with a parlor, he have a business. The man who's, you know, just selling some drinks at the side of the road, he have a business. The shop is a business. Business is much more than that. So you see, like even Giselle, when she talks about still taking time to refine the process to get the right type of flavors. Listen, even if you have to take a year to establish your systems and your processes, right? Taking that year could be the difference between just having something at the side of the road or having something like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right? Because they took time to develop a process. So just as, you know, all these world-class products, they didn't just get up one morning and make it. Some of these things were years in the making, right? Generations in the making and tweaking until they really get it to that point. So don't be afraid of the process. You know, don't beat up on yourself if you find, well, oh gosh, this thing is taking too long. Take time to develop your systems, because that is what is really going to catapult your business to where you want it to be. Right? So anybody else wants to comment before Risha, you will close us all?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Risha says thanks very much for all this advice.
No problem. I think we had our some session here, Kevin. All right, and they could follow along for all homegrown solutions, all the presentations that follow, because they are all integrated. And for you that want to do livestock production, ecotourism resorts, neotropical animal production, definitely stay tuned, because that is what we are focused on this year. I think next week's presentation is apiculture. Maybe presentation 2 for apiculture might be stingless bee farming. All right, I haven't decided yet, but yes, that's generally how that should go.
Right. So for those of you who would have missed that, Riyadh was just giving you all a little heads up as to what we have coming up. But Risha, as you wrap up, you will give us the rundown of the other sessions we have in August.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation. As we will have next week, Saturday, Bees and Honey Production 1. So that's the 8th of August. Then on the 15th, we would have Agouti Production Part 2. 22nd of August, Integrated Farming Systems Part 2. And the 29th of August, Growth Production Part 2. And again, if you missed Part 1, feel free to contact Homegrown Solutions for the recordings of sessions. Okay, so keep your eyes peeled for the Facebook page of Homegrown Solutions for these sessions as well as upcoming sessions. We have sessions planned until the end of the year. So just checking, I see there are possibly any other comments or questions.
Yes, Colin, it has bees that don't sting. They are called stingless bees, and we should be covering that before the year ends as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. So thank you, everyone. Certainly appreciate your participation and your presence. And we look forward to seeing you in future sessions. And thank you, Riyadh, for, again, your wealth of information.
No problem. Thanks so much.
Everyone, and see you next time.
All right. Good night, everyone. Have a blessed weekend and enjoy the upcoming week.